Uh, sorry. Good evening, NACA brothers and sisters, and all of our distinguished guests. On October 26, 2022, Anchorage TRACON controller Joseph Howard was working South Radar on November 212 Uniform Sierra. A Technam traveler departed Anchorage runway 7, left with an intended destination of Homer, Alaska. Homer's a small town located 117 miles south of Anchorage. It's a small coastal town through quite a bit of mountainous terrain. If you guys know anything about Alaska Archie leagues, there's going to be mountains and there's going to be weather involved, so just putting it out there right now. November 212 Uniform Sierra was approximately 15 miles south of Anchorage Airport and at a last known altitude of 6,000 feet. It appeared their transponder had failed. Joseph was able to quickly realize this and jump into action. It had become apparent to Joseph that November 212 Uniform Sierra was deviating off their assigned course and into higher terrain. He needed to work quickly to ensure that the aircraft was on a safe route and at a safe altitude. However, after attempting to reach 212 Uniform Sierra, Joseph realized that not only had he lost his transponder, but he had lost his comms. Joseph immediately tried to contact the aircraft utilizing a number of techniques, including broadcasting into the blind, utilizing the guard frequency, communicating with other ATC facilities, and also other aircraft inside of his airspace. Adding to the issue, it appeared at times the aircraft could hear Joseph and was complying with his control instructions, and at other times, he appeared unable to receive any control instructions and was slowly progressing into higher terrain. With limited options and a lack of control of the aircraft, Joseph really did utilize all the tools that he had available to him, including his knowledge of the area, his knowledge as a pilot, and his dedicated professionalism to calmly work the situation while under pressure. Also, while simultaneously continuing to work the rest of the traffic in his radar sector. So let's watch the video.
Departure to Uniform Sierra, so it's 1800, find out 4,000.
November 212 Uniform Sierra, Anchorage departure, rate of contact, and climb maintain 6,000. A bit of light right max on the way up.
6,000, you're for a little light for Uniform Sierra.
Travel Air 212 Uniform Sierra, recycle your transponder. It just dropped off for just a moment. Travel Air 212 Uniform Sierra, approach. Travel Air 212 Uniform Sierra, this is Anchorage approach on guard. Changed my frequency on 126.4. Travel Air 212 Uniform Sierra, contact Anchorage approach on 126.4. Travel Air 212 Uniform Sierra, your replies have not been received, and I see you deviating about 10 to 15 degrees left of ZZ. If you hear me, ident or turn 40 degrees right. UPS 60 heavy, there's an aircraft southwest of you about 17 miles, somewhere around 6,000 feet or so. I've lost radios with them. Can you reach out to a 212 Uniform Sierra and see if you can hear his reply through line of sight?
Okay, we'll give it a try. 212 Uniform Sierra. 212 Uniform Sierra, this is UPS 60, do you hear? And 212 Uniform Sierra, this is UPS 60 on 126 decimal here. Decimal 4, do you hear me?
Low altitude alert, November 212 Uniform Sierra. Check your altitude immediately. The NVA you are approaching is 4,000 feet, and it rises rapidly from 4,000 to 5,000 and then 7,000 feet at about 12 o'clock in 4 miles. Suggest you turn westbound immediately, November 212 Uniform Sierra. Make a left-hand turn to the west, maintain 3,000. November 212 Uniform Sierra, your turn is observed. I'm seeing you turning to the west now. And I've also got you at 3,000 feet. I'm not sure if your electronics are starting to come back on. Radio check, how do you hear me?
We just came back on board Uniform Sierra. It'll take a minute to get set up.
Number 212 Uniform Sierra, I have you loud and clear as well. I'm showing you at 3,200 feet, the Anchorage altimeter 2912, and same intention.
I'll come back to Anchorage here once I get settled down to maintain present heading for the moment. Everything is still, radios, no ARs, no direction, so.
Number 212 Uniform Sierra, we're just curious if you were hearing the radio calls for you for like the last 5 to 10 minutes. We were trying to reach out to you, get you to turn away from terrain. We weren't sure if you were hearing us at all.
Negative. We had a total comms failure. We're navigating on Google Earth right now.
And number 212 Uniform Sierra, if you're okay with it, I think the conditions at International are going to be good enough to just radar vector you or give you some directional, no gyro controls all the way down final. I'll get you as low as I can, and then you can visually see the airport and do a visual approach from there. Do you want to try that?
Affirmative. Uniform Sierra.
Number 212 Uniform Sierra, affirmative. You're still just a little bit northwestbound. I just got the report back from Tower. They said that the Aircraft on arrival got the field in sight at about 1,400 feet with light turbulence. The lowest I can get you is 1,600.
That'll be fine. Uniform 2, uniform 2.
Good old Google Earth saves the day. What the video doesn't show there is this event actually played out over about 30 minutes. And again, if you watch the actual total replay of the event, this airplane was all over the place. And frustratingly enough, listening apparently sometimes and turning back into terrain. So it was a long time. There actually was a no gyro turn involved that the video doesn't show, and the guy landed safely. Once November 212 Uniform Sierra was able to regain his electronics, Joseph now worked to sequence him into his arrivals, to return to Anchorage where the weather, mountains and weather, bad enough to raise concern if the aircraft could even land there. Because of this, Joseph also worked out an alternate landing option at Merrill Airport, just a few miles from the Anchorage airport, where the weather was actually a lot better. It's a great outcome for our brother Joseph. Provided as much service as he possibly could to November 212 Uniform Sierra. Showed dedicated professionalism and a commitment to safety that makes our traffic controllers so respected in the aviation world. And before I bring him up here, if you ever want to get reinvigorated about being an aviation professional and specifically in air traffic control, I've had the pleasure to talk to Joseph quite a few times here over the last few days. Go talk to him. Never met somebody as excited as that guy to be an air traffic controller. I'm pretty sure he skips to work every day. Brothers and sisters, please join me in welcoming to the stage the Archie League Medal of Safety winner for the Alaskan region, Joseph Howard. Get too excited there, big shoot. You want it? No, that's you.
It's an honor and a privilege to stand before you all this evening. I'm sure a lot of you might expect me to say something like, I was just doing my job. However, I don't feel that's what occurred in my scenario. My job was the furthest thing from my mind. When I realized the severity of the situation, my immediate and persistent thoughts were only to the overwhelming sense of empathy for the individual trapped in that awful place. It wasn't the rules, the regulations, nor procedures that dictated my actions. It was only concern for my fellow pilot, as I wished for nothing else than to see him back down safely. As a card-carrying pilot myself, when the operator declared how little information he had left, I understood exactly how much information he was missing, how desperate his situation truly was, and how it might feel to be sitting in his seat. According to the NTSB, the average time for a pilot without training or adequate instrumentation to become disoriented in IMC and achieve a dangerous attitude is 178 seconds. My guy was trapped in solid IMC without reliable means to orient himself other than the sound of my voice for 28 minutes, and I guess Google Earth as well. I leaned on basic human compassion and my own flight training to determine, what does this guy want to hear? How often does he need to hear it? What can I tell him to offer assurances that not only do we have a plan, but multiple backup plans? How steady can I maintain my tone of calmness knowing full well that this pilot was potentially only moments away from an unrecoverable situation, and that mine might be the last voice he ever hears? Frankly, upon reviewing the situation in preparation for tonight, I see about a dozen things that I could have done better. I don't say that under the guise of embarrassment, but rather an incredible opportunity for me to learn from mistakes and arm myself with better tools to tackle future events. I'm sure a lot of you in the crowd can't help but nitpick the fine details of my instinctive actions. It's in our nature. It's what makes you all such consummate professionals. In our field, we don't live on backpats. We thrive on that introspective critique and seeking constant self-improvement. I know all of you have taken a sequence home with you to dwell upon and I respect you for it. It is with humility that I stand before a crowd who are always striving to do better. There are many people that I should thank for empowering me to be the controller that I am today, but the person who most needs to hear it should be my beautiful wife, Catherine. She's my best friend, who, for years, worked a rattler right alongside me, just so we could be together more often. Her humor and kind heart always brighten even my worst of days at work. She patiently listens and empathizes with my work stories, letting me get things off my chest. Thanks exclusively to her efforts, I start each new day of air traffic fresh-faced, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to face whatever the sky might throw me. And yes, I do skip to work. I would also like to thank my good friend and coworker, Aaron Novak, who processed the MOR and recognized its potential. He labored to disseminate it to important people while taking the time to craft up an amazing awards package, despite standing nothing to benefit for himself. We need more people like Aaron, willing to recognize and herald the actions of those around them, for there's far too little of that going on. We should all strive to be an Aaron for somebody else when we see the opportunities arise. All the controllers in attendance tonight have probably worked their fair share of insane emergencies and humbly described it as, I was just doing my job. It's far too common in this profession to call it just another day and go home without so much as a well done, despite being an integral part of some desperate resolution. That's a damn shame. And I hope, if you'll indulge me, we could take a moment to remedy some of that. I ask now, if it isn't terribly inconvenient, for all of my fellow controllers in the audience to please stand and be recognized for your amazing work. You make the NAS the safest and most efficient it could possibly be. This job requires your empathy, passion, and patience, and you strive tirelessly to deliver the impossible, perfection. Thank you all for doing what you do without expecting recognition. Thank you for doing it every day, despite all the trials and tribulations that come along with it. I'm humbled to share this room with you, and you inspire me to operate the same. Never letting good be enough. To the remaining audience here tonight, please let your ensuing applause be not for me, but for all these unsung heroes who stand among you.